Welcome back to the Raiders offseason edition. It's Heidi, Fang, and Sam Gordon. We're going to give you more of this offensive breakdown by position as we look into our offseason recap and what we can look to in the 2021 season with the Raiders. Sam, how are you doing today?
Well, good, Heidi. Appreciate you having me back. Excited to talk a little running backs today.
Yeah, we're going to get into, and that's kind of an interesting spot. Everybody knows that Josh Jacobs is going to be on the return, that he's coming back, that he is a staple of this offense. In fact, a Pro Bowler on this offense, somebody that has the promised future that the Raiders have wanted to bring in, the culture that they wanted to bring in when they drafted him. But as you start to look at the red zone, that was an area of concern. Josh Jacobs had 12 touchdowns last season, so not shabby by any means, but how do they start to utilize Josh Jacobs differently in the coming year to continue their push for more touchdowns in the red zone than they produced in 2021?
Heidi, I think it's about continuing his improvement as a pass catcher. He had said before the season that he wanted to catch 60 passes in 2020. He caught 20 passes as a rookie in 2019. And while he did improve in that regard, he caught 33 in 2020. He didn't reach that 60, that plateau of 60 that he was aiming for. And I think in today's game, I think it's all about the more things you can do at that running back position, the better off you are. And he was still really, really productive with 1,065 rushing yards. But the yards per carry and kind of the efficiency went down. He was 1,150 yards as a rookie, 88.5 yards per game. This past year, 1,065 yards, 3.9 yards per carry, 71 yards per game. So I think opposing defenses were a little bit more ready. I mean, the Raiders weren't shy about wanting to establish the running game. And I think the way to kind of unlock him in both the running game and in the passing game is for him to continue to improve his skills as a receiver and to try and utilize him as such as a way to kind of diversify what he can do and what he can bring to the offense. The production is there over the course of his first 2 years, but there's still, I think, another level that he can get to, or that the Raiders would like him to get to, and it really starts with him as a pass catcher.
Yeah, that and then the yards per carry, you look at that, the decline on that is not totally concerning because they did have their fair share of hardcore defenses that were prepared to defend against him as
Sure.
opposed to the previous year where there's not much tape on him, right? So definitely adding pass catching to his repertoire would be helpful. And in that department has been Jalen Richard over the past few years. But Sam, what can you tell us about his contract and the outlook for whether or not Jalen Richard returns to this Raiders team?
Well, he's due 3.375 million, and that's a nice chunk of change for somebody like Richard, who has had his role within the Raiders, especially 2017, 2018, 2019. But this past season, I know he was dealing with some injuries, but he was kind of phased out of the offense. Only 123 rushing yards and 138 receiving yards. He only scored one touchdown. So the question the Raiders have to ask is, do they want to pay that kind of money for a running back like Richard, kind of that scat back, if they're not going to really utilize him and maximize his abilities, or do they want to part ways with him? There's no cap hit if they part ways with him. The guarantees in this contract have been paid off, and allocate that money somewhere else. Maybe try and find a scat back late in the draft, or an undrafted free agent, or maybe tap into the free agency market and try and find a veteran who can fill that void at maybe a cheaper price. So we've seen him be a contributor in the past. I mean, he's quick. He can catch the ball. That he actually had talked about, and Josh Jacobs talked about it too, how those two had worked together to help Jacobs improve in the passing game. So he was valuable there as a veteran in that running back position group. But the Raiders do have a decision on their hands whether or not they feel like what he can produce or how they plan on using him is worth the money that he's due in 2021.
When you look at the undrafted free agent picture and talking about, like you said, bringing in a veteran, somebody that they can get at a bargain, that's kind of what they got with Devontae Booker last year out of the Broncos and becoming a Raider. So he's somebody that I think added a lot to the offense and the 1-2 punch and being able to give Josh Jacobs a spell at times. So do you think that the Raiders would look at bringing back Devontae Booker, being that he's already been plugged into the system?
Yeah, I think it would make sense. I mean, he, from a kind of a skill standpoint, the way he plays is very similar to Josh Jacobs, and the Raiders like that mold of back, somebody that's big, that's powerful, but that has some speed and can catch a pass out of the backfield. And that's what Devontae Booker did. 423 rushing yards last year as the backup running back, spelling Jacobs 4.5 yards per carry, and then 17 receptions as well. He's the kind of back that they wanted to provide a spell to Josh Jacobs, and he didn't even make $1 million last year. I mean, he was around 900,000. So I would imagine he would be due a little bit of a raise, but I don't think it would cost. I don't think they have to break the bank to bring him back. If there's mutual interest there, I would expect him to be back for sure. He's still only 28. He turns 29 here in May. So presumably plenty of football, high-level football left for him. It's not like he's had a big workload throughout the course of his career, only 382 carries. So I think there still is a lot of value in bringing somebody back like Devontae Booker.
In that same vein of keeping different backfields with mixed up different types of running backs and players, you have Alec Ingold. He's a fullback, but what do you think about Ingold and how this year the Raiders might look to even expand his role?
Yeah, I mean, he's somebody I think that's been a reliable in that role for the Raiders. He caught 12 passes this past year for 110 yards. It's double what he caught as a rookie in 2019. So not a crazy amount of production, but he's caught a touchdown in each season. And he is valuable as a blocker and doing different things. You look at the way the game's played now, Heidi. Obviously, most teams don't traditionally use a fullback, but it gives, like you said, it gives your offense a chance to have a little bit more variety, to do some more things, to be a little bit more versatile. He can leak out in pass patterns. He can be a lead blocker. He can stand in there and pass protect. He logged 22% of the snaps, the offensive snaps in 2020, up from 20% last year. And he's a really, really crucial player on their special teams. So he's somebody that I think is valuable just kind of in a role as a football player. I think it's all the things he can do for you in all the phases of the game. So I think he's a nice complement to what the Raiders are trying to build in their backfield.
Great stuff, Sam. Well, thank you as always for all of the insight, and we'll look to continue doing this. We still have wide receivers and tight ends to get into, so we'll come down the line here as we continue putting out these videos for the Raiders offseason series. Make sure to follow Sam on Twitter at @BySamGordon, and I'm at Heidi Fang, and keep up with everything that we're doing on Vegas Nation and by downloading the Vegas Nation app. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll be back next week.